I cannot sleep because all I'm thinking about are these 19-year-old wives. And I'm also reading Yesteryear, which, if you're familiar with the concept of that book, it's just like not good. It's not good for me to have that literature kind of compounding what's already been swirling around in my brain. One thing that I think I really missed the mark on my previous video about this was forgetting to recognize that in a lot of these like traditional conservative groups, they believe that being a wife and a mother is always going to be the ultimate goal. That's like what they're working towards, and that's what they're wanting. And the reason why they believe that is because it's passed on from generation to generation. It's a very traditional way of looking at the world in which a man would elevate your status and provide you with the social capital necessary to like move rank socially. And even to this day, people refer to like a 4-year degree as an MRS degree because they are like, in their mind, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to one day send their daughter to SMU so she can meet like a nice man and earn her MRS degree. So these like really big milestones in a young woman's life don't have anything to do with like her goals, dreams, and ambitions. It has more so to do with putting her in the right environment to be selected in order for that like social capital exchange to begin. Okay, so the way they think about it is that they're looking to find the best, most like ornate, most dripping in gold male operated elevator that they can ride on. So in this analogy, it's male operated, it's his domain, it's his call. He's choosing. He's looking at this lineup of women in front of him, and he's saying, you can come on this elevator with me, and I will bring you to a higher social status than what you had previously. And so when a young woman, a 19-year-old woman, gets on that male operated elevator, she doesn't view it as being robbed of anything. She doesn't view it as being robbed of her youth, of her career, of her dreams, of her passions, of her travels. She views it as a shortcut, that she was able to quicken the amount of time it took her to get to being a wife, which was always her ultimate goal. She looks at that exchange like she hopped the line. So when I talk about like mitigating risk, in her mind, she's like, what risk? I was able to accomplish something in 1 year of adulthood that took someone like me 14 years or however long. My math isn't my best. Let's just put it that way. So when she looks at this exchange, she's thinking to herself, I've cheated the system, I've gamed the system. She hasn't lost anything in this process. Because I've never really been interested in getting on a male operated elevator, I think of my journey through adulthood, to stick with the analogy, as like I was walking through a stairwell, much slower pace, kind of just like creeping along this stairwell, not really interested in abiding by the rules of a male operated elevator. However, when I'm walking through that stairwell, there are like Home Alone style booby traps that society likes to throw at me. Like if you've ever watched Home Alone, you know how they like throw the paint can over the stairwell so it like hits someone in the face. And I feel like the first one they throw when you're in the stairwell trying to climb up is men aren't going to find you attractive, which that paint can never hits me because men don't find me attractive. Like imagine like a man finding this way of thinking attractive. It's very few and far between. That's why I'm obsessed with my husband, because he's like, he doesn't just accept this part of me, he like loves it and cherishes it. He thinks it's like rock and roll vibes. Okay, so that's the first paint can they throw at you. when you're 21, 22, they're like, if you go any further up this stairwell, if you don't get on one of those male operated elevators, they're not going to find you attractive anymore, because the higher you climb, like, they're not interested in an older woman, they're not interested in a woman in their 30s. So that's the first one they throw. The next paint can I think they throw at a young woman who's trying to move up the stairwell and just essentially like live her life. Like, she's prioritizing herself, her career, her friendship, she's investing in herself. The next like paint can I feel like they throw to get you on one of the elevators is they say, you're like, now you're gonna die alone. So at first it was like, maybe you won't be picked. Next is like, you for sure are going to die a spinster. And they kind of try to push that narrative on you to like beat you back, or to like really make you fearful of the path that you've chosen. And then that one I think is a little bit easier to dodge, because again, as you go up that stairwell, you're like building confidence, you're feeling more self-assured, and you're like, okay, that's a risk I'll navigate. Like, I appreciate the heads up, but like, I'm good to keep climbing. Then like the third and final paint can, like the last thing they have in their arsenal to try to like beat you back onto these elevators, is they start throwing like imaginary babies at you. And they're like, well, if you don't get on that elevator, you'll never have a family. But I would say a modern woman today has a lot of options. She could do IVF, she could freeze her eggs, she could, you know, women are having children later. There's more women in the US having children after 40 than in like any teenage demographic. So people are having children later, and it's just like much more common. Also, there are women who have no interest in having children. So it's like that last final ditch effort they have to try to claw you back, I feel like is always that one. One massive advantage that the stairwell has for you is it gives you time to reflect and to truly ask yourself those questions. Like, do I want this? Do I want this life? Do I want to be a wife? Do I want to be a mother? Do I want to have multiple children? Do I want to marry this man? Like, it brings the agency and the autonomy and the ability to choose back to the person who's like taking this journey, who's like summiting up these stairs. And I think when you get on an elevator, it really shortens that distance and disallows someone the opportunity to like really reflect and ask themselves what they want, because they're so worried about like ensuring that whichever man is operating their elevator is happy, without asking themselves like, are they happy? Is this what I want? Is this the role I really want to step into with my life? The other thing about the stairwell is it gives you the opportunity to look up and see how much time you have. Those paint cans are thrown all within like 3 years, like 24 to 27. Then you look up and you're like, oh my God, I have so much life to live. Like, why was I so concerned about that? I have so much more to go and so much more I want to do. And you'll never hear me say a 19-year-old who got on that elevator and is now a wife and a mother, that she's ruined her life. You'll never hear me say that, because I don't believe that's true. I believe women can reinvent themselves and reinvent themselves. I believe a woman could have a new haircut and wake up the next day and completely reinvent her life. I think that the patriarchy and like misogynistic viewpoints are like such thick smog, and it's like so hard to breathe. But I think the one force in nature that is so much stronger than all of that is a woman's resiliency and like a woman's ability to start again. And if you're in a situation where like you know, sacrifice your career, sacrifice your education because you wanted to get an MRS degree and that's what you thought that you should do with your life, I do believe that like at any point in your life, you can start again. You can start fresh. You can start again at 47, 52. It doesn't matter, and that's what I believe.